is the main weapon of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when Sudarshan Chakra is installed on top of a temple, as is generally or always done actually in our temples, then it means, among other things, but particularly it means protection from negative influences, and there can be quite a number of negative influences from people who may want to sort of harass the Krishna consciousness movement, or even worse, and other types of negativity also, even the weather, financial things, all sorts of things can harass and cause difficulty. And the Sudarshan Chakra is particularly for protection from these negative influences. So it's very nice that the chakra, beautiful looking chakra, my gosh, looks quite amazing actually. That he, because Sudarshan is a he is being installed today. And I can also just make a comment in general. When I walked in and I looked, I came in from the right there, and I looked to the right and I saw the wall with pictures. And I thought, what happened now? But then I looked ahead and I saw the altar has been moved. And then I looked towards the corner and Prabhupada was not there. Gosh, and I thought, things have changed. So it's actually a much better arrangement. It's very nice that Prabhupada is directly facing the altar to just directly have darshan of Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra Devi. And it's New Year's Eve, which in and of itself is not exactly auspicious. I mean, certainly not really in Vedic terms or Krishna conscious terms, but we all know that the New Year is a time for major change. It's the change of the year, of course. So it's very important like that. And the New Year, there's a tradition of New Year's resolutions. I'm sure we've all heard about people making New Year's resolutions. It's a Western tradition. They make resolutions, I'll do this or I won't do that. And then usually the resolutions only last. If they last 24 hours, that's quite good. And usually they don't, or often they don't even last 24 hours. But devotees, we read Srila Prabhupada comments in Bhagavad Gita that devotees are people. Devotees make vows. This is one of the foundational aspects of life as a devotee, is that devotees make vows. And they're vows which they then keep. Particularly, of course, when devotees are initiated, they vow to follow the four regulative principles. No eat fish or eggs, no illicit sex life, no intoxication, no gambling. We all know about these vows, essential vows. And they vow to maintain those vows lifelong, or even eternally, but at least lifelong, plus to chant minimum of 16 rounds a day. So in this sense, devotees are people who make vows, who make commitments in the service of the Lord, not just whimsically, but in the service of the Lord. So, in that sense, it's a very good idea for all of us to take some vows for the upcoming year, starting tomorrow. What we're going to do. I mean, a number of different types of vows would be appropriate. For example, to do some things, Krishna conscious things, which we were not able to do last year. And so that's one type of vow, positive vow, that we'll try and do more, and we'll try and do better in Krishna consciousness. And on the other hand, if we made some mistakes in the course of the previous year, that we'll really try our very best not to make such mistakes again. And even if we made some offenses, unfortunately this can happen. If we're not careful, it can happen to anyone, of course. But if we made some offenses in the course of last year, to make up our minds not to make such offenses again, and even to try to undo, if we made some offenses, do something to undo those offenses. And if someone offended us, anyway, if someone offended us, we should make up our minds, devotees, to forgive that person. To forgive that person. Forgiveness is an extremely important quality for devotees to cultivate, because people do silly things and even a little aggressive or a little, even if it's just talking aggressively and maybe doing something a bit nasty. People do like that. So this is a good time to forgive those persons. Yeah. Actually we do a seminar on forgiveness. It's very interesting. But one thing I can just say to encourage forgiveness, if there was someone who offended you and really made you feel bad, there's a type of a saying that the anger that people feel when they're offended is a type of poison. And if we've been offended in a little significant way, maybe, then that anger can really become lodged within our hearts. And we may even think of getting some revenge or doing something about it. But it's said that anger is a type of poison. And if we've been offended and we hold on to that anger of having been offended, then that anger is like a poison. And of course our anger will be aimed at the other person. But actually all the anger does is hurt us. It doesn't hurt the other person, it just hurts us. So these are just some thoughts in general to encourage us all that now we're coming into the new year. Let us really evaluate, re-evaluate our lives in Krishna consciousness and see what to do to improve right, wrongs, and all these types of things. And now Sudarshan is being installed. And he's a very powerful person. He has a personal form. If you're familiar with the 12th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, generally on the back cover, you see there's one picture, one painting on the back cover. And in that painting, the hunter, Jara, the hunter who fired the arrow at Lord Krishna's foot, if you're familiar with that story a bit, that hunter, Lord Krishna was sitting with his back against a tree, and one foot was exposed, just coming out from the tree. And the hunter, coming from behind, saw the foot and mistook it for some sort of animal or something, and fired an arrow at the foot of the Lord. If you've ever read, what is it? It's the 11th canto, the last part of the 11th canto, the story of the disappearance of Lord Krishna. Our acharyas made the point that it does not say that his arrow hit the foot. It just says he fired an arrow at the foot, in the direction of the foot. And being shot, even if someone is shot at the foot, I don't think it ever killed anyone. So the hunter then comes around to the front of the tree, and there's Lord Krishna sitting. But he's sitting with his lotus flower, with his conch, with his club, and with his chakra, Sudarshan. They're all around him, but in their personal forms, as people. Yes, like human forms. And Sudarshan is there. If I remember correctly, when you look at the picture, he's on our right above. So Sudarshan is, like we said, is a weapon, the traditional and main weapon of the Lord. But, you know, in the kingdom of God, there's nothing which is not a person. There are no things in the kingdom of God. Everything is alive. The rocks are alive. The buildings are alive. Everything is alive. Yes. So, Sudarshan is a person whose service is to act as a weapon, the main weapon of the Lord. But we shouldn't forget he's a person, and he's so kind that he sits up on the roof of the temples, like in India, Bharat, May. There's so many Vaishnava temples, and generally every single one of them, thousands, they have Sudarshan up on the roof. And he sits there. And we shouldn't forget he's a person. He sits there, outside, 24/7. He sits there. That's his kindness, as his service to the Lord, as the Lord's weapon to protect the temple, to protect the home of the Lord. Yeah, and so, sitting up there, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it rains, etc. I don't know if you get snow here, but you get all weather conditions. And Sudarshan is so kind. He just sits there and tolerates it all. I don't think we would like to have to do that. But it's part of his service. You may know there's a story in the Bhagavatam 10th canto, the story of Paul-Draka. Paul-Draka. It's in the later part of the 10th canto. Paul-Draka was a demon. He was staunchly anti-Krishna. But he was a special demon in the sense that he was claiming to be Vishnu. And he told Krishna, he sent a message to Krishna, that you are a fake. You are not really Vishnu. You're just an ordinary person. So, but you somehow, you got your hands on my 4 pieces of paraphernalia, the lotus, the conch, the club, and the chakra. Somehow you got your hands on them and you have them now. But I want them back. So he told Lord Krishna, give them back. And Lord Krishna said, well, let's meet together on the battlefield and we'll decide the matter. So there they were. This is all described in the 10th canto. Paul-Draka with his army one side, Lord Krishna with his army the other side, and Paul-Draka is shouting, give me my things, my lotus, my conch, my club, my chakra, give them to me. And Lord Krishna famously said, I'll give them to you, beginning with the chakra. But the thing is, you have to catch it first. And Lord Krishna released the Sudarshan chakra. And Paul-Draka, I don't think he would have made the Indian 11, the Indian cricket team. Because the chakra came flying at him. And he tried to catch it. He missed. But the chakra did not miss. And it removed his head. Hare Krishna. Beta. TK. Huh? Okay, what's some theater? So that was the end of Paul-Draka. The chakra got him. Sure, really. So this is what we're doing here today. It's so nice that Vaishnava Prabhu is such a very, very senior devotee and qualified devotee in so many ways. And our regional secretary for this northern area, that he's and very experienced as a pujari. So nice that he's doing it all. Because it makes a difference who does these things. Occasionally we have to go to a wedding and someone from somewhere else is performing the wedding. And after you've seen about 100 weddings, you know how they work. And you see the fellow doing this wedding and you can see, this is not how you do a wedding. And then at the end, I've myself come out at the end going, were the couple really married or not? I mean, did it work or not? So it matters who does everything in Krishna consciousness. I remember when I first joined the temple in London, It was the 7th of January, 1973. So, in a week, it's going to be 51 years. But there were some very interesting things. One very interesting thing, really, was that devotees who had not received second initiation were not allowed to cook. What to speak of for the deities, but even for the devotees, the general devotees, because there were 50 or 60 devotees living in the temple. So this was Prabhupada's personal instruction, that the cooking, even he himself would sometimes cook, because it matters. It matters who does so many things, and the more qualified a person is to carry out, any function, you could say, but particularly a function like this, worshipping the deities, etc. It really matters. So, he's looking at the